they incited an insurrection. See, you racist motherfucker. Fuck you.
I ain't racist at all.
Well, don't call me no Oompa Loompa, whatever the fuck you said,
Is that
dumbass.
racist?
This is Callum Smiles for Vox Popular Media here in Washington, D.C., outside of the D.C. Correctional Facility, where many of the January of the 6th hostages are still being held. Now, today is the first day after the inauguration of Donald J. Trump, the 45th and now the 47th President of the United States, and one of his first orders of business was to sign an executive order to call for the immediate release of these so-called hostages. On the other side of the divide, they call them the rioters or the insurrectionists. But more importantly, he made it one of his first official acts to demand their release. Now, some have been released. However, there are still hundreds, and actually I believe over 1,000 people still being wrongly held against their will and denied their freedom. The question is, when will they all be released? And more importantly, why are they still being held? Now, what exactly is January the 6th all about? Well, on January the 6th, 2020, the then Republican Vice President and head of the Senate, Mike Pence, was at the Capitol building to certify the presidential election results of 2019 to crown Joe Biden the 46th president. Now, on the same day, there was a rally held by Donald J. Trump just down the mall. So there were actually many Republican supporters in the capital city of America on the day that the Democrats were about to be crowned rulers of the country. Now, on that day, there ended up becoming a bit of a riot at the Capitol building. Who exactly started it is still anyone's guess. There are many stories which actually hold a lot of weight, saying that the federal government actually incited a riot to try and, well, accuse Donald Trump of leading an insurrection. As a result of this, 1,500 people have been arrested for supposedly insurrection. Now, yesterday, on the first day of office for the 47th President Donald J. Trump, he signed an executive order demanding the release of all January the 6th hostages, as he calls them. Now, some have been released. However, there are still hundreds still being held against their will by the federal government here in DC. What can you tell me about the prisoners that haven't yet been released, despite President Trump saying they have to be released right now?
Well, the argument DC is using is they haven't been convicted yet. So the ones that had already been convicted, the two that were still here that were convicted but hadn't been sentenced yet, they were released because as they're being convicted, then they would qualify for the pardon, where pardons only are supposed to apply to people who have already been found guilty of a crime. Like somehow Biden preemptively, pardoning people who haven't actually been charged or convicted yet, that's like completely unheard of in American history.
So if they haven't been convicted yet, and the famous January the 6th was 4 years ago now, how long can they hold them in there?
They've been some of them they held for like 2 or 3 years before they were even charged.
So at what point, without them still being convicted, because you're saying, it's people in there who haven't been convicted yet, how long could they actually hold them in there until they have to charge them?
They did it for multiple years. It's unprecedented. Everything that's been done to these guys would be a war crime anywhere else. If you tried to do that with prisoners of war, they would be a war crime the way they were treated in there.
The events outside of the DC Correctional Facility have got the attention of the world's media. Not only that, prisoners that have been released were also in attendance to show their support for other January the 6th hostages who are yet to be released. So I'm told that actually just in this one detention centre, there's actually only 21 people inside. So it means there's actually more dotted around the country. I was speaking to someone who was released from the prison in Philadelphia at 2 a.m. this morning, and here's what they had to say. Kevin, what can you tell me about that day?
It was political theater, in my opinion. There was obviously a plot to get Donald Trump, and they ultimately did. And I believe that we were basically entrapped with January 6th. And then, unduly and improperly adjudicated to where we were the worst of the worst. You know, they said that January 6th was as bad or worse than 9/11, which is totally off the charts, you know what I'm saying? And we were all labeled domestic terrorists. I'm on a no-fly list, you know what I'm saying? I can't even get on a plane and fly outside of the country.
Is that because of your arrest?
January 6th. And I was only convicted of a misdemeanor, parading and picketing inside the U.S. Capitol, you know. I took a picture inside the Capitol and I put it on Twitter and Facebook. And the next day I was all over the news.
So how long were you arrested for?
Since Halloween. I've been arrested this time. Since Halloween. And so I've been incarcerated about 82 days. And they processed me through here because I had a probation violation and I had to go back in front of my federal judge in D.C. So they brought me from Iowa to D.C. It took like 3 weeks for the U.S. Marshals to get me. And they take you from jail to jail to jail and then fly you on Con Air. You know what I'm saying? I was on Con Air twice to get to D.C. And ever since then, it's just been waiting on Trump, President Trump.
However, not everyone who passed by was in support of the January the 6th hostages.
Back to where we came
Quit running
from.
your fat mouth
Do
when you
that.
ain't got no
Fuck you.
facts.
I got plenty of facts. You tore up the Capitol. They incited an insurrection. See, you racist motherfucker. Fuck you.
I ain't racist at all.
Well, don't call me no Oompa Loompa, whatever the fuck you
racist?
said,
Is that
dumbass.
racist? Is that racist to call you a Oompa Loompa?
Yeah, bitch, it is.
So, you know, the day is getting older now, and there's still actually no one who's come out. So there's a lot of people here, there's a lot of media attention here outside the DC Correctional Facility, actually, interested in exactly what's going on, because that's the thing, a lot of people don't really seem to know exactly what is going on here at the DC Correctional Facility, and more importantly, they don't know when everyone's going to be released, despite the fact the President himself, the highest office in the United States, has demanded, not just called for, not just asked for, he has demanded through an executive order for everyone related to arrests for January the 6th to be released. However, they haven't. So this has been Callum Smiles for Vox Popular Media on a very cold winter's day here in America outside of the DC Correctional Facility.